It's time for Talkin Tauntauns, your Star Wars source at AIPTcomics.com.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Talkin Tauntauns. I am Jim Lahane, and with me, as always, is Nicole Herview.
It me. Hello.
And with us is the 007 and a half himself, Bond, Alex Bond.
I tell people they always get, like, everyone gets one of those.
Yeah,
that was
you
your
get
one,
one.
and
You're
in a
done.
rare instance, it's documented. we could go back to this moment and be like, that was Jim's one Bond joke that he got.
Well, I didn't know what the order, because I don't watch any of the Bond movies. I didn't know if 006 was better or 008 was better, so I gave you 007
I
and
could
a half.
I could give you the whole thing. So 006 was played by Sean Bean in GoldenEye, and he was an a-hole. He turns against MI6, ends up being the big bad of the movie. So we definitely don't like 006.
Love Sean Bean though. So
Well, he is played by Sean Bean, which means he also has a spectacular death.
yeah.
A friggin' satellite falls on him.
Love that for
It's
all of us.
wild.
That's great. That's very good.
Yeah, they don't really do many other 00s in those movies, I guess, to not take away from the featured 00.
But then you add too many, and you're like, single 10.
Well, I guess
Yeah,
there
usually
can
gets
only
10.
be 9 active. So they did establish in the last one that 007, it gets reused. So James Bond retires, and they give 007 to a different agent in the film.
Also named James Bond. Right? Like, 'cause
No.
there's so many actors, right? No.
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess they could use that going forward. There was always the theory that, like, oh, James Bond is the moniker, and each time he's played by somebody else, it's a different agent, but it's the same continuity.
Yes.
But then they did away with that with this series, where it was like, no, this is James Bond. He was born James Bond. He will die as James Bond. He is just 007 for now, and then
Jimmy
in
Bond.
the last movie, there's a new 007 whose name escapes me. But yeah. Anyway,
Cool.
this is not
Okay,
this is not that
that
podcast.
was a very long
Bond podcast.
Yeah, that was a very long Bond.
I'm thrilled to
talk
be
for-
here on the Star Wars podcast talking about a different movie series.
Yeah.
That's okay. We always seem to diverge at times.
Oh yeah. We do that.
That's
How
the
are you
bread and
doing,
butter, right?
Alex?
I'm
It's been a little
great.
while.
It has been, yeah. Weird, and the fact that we're not here talking about Clone Wars just like pushes back that timeline like another 6 months,
Oh yeah.
which takes us out to like 2032. I mean, there's still going to be Star Wars stuff to talk about then, I'm sure, but will we?
Yeah, there's content for years.
Well, we're not even here to talk about Andor, which dropped its most bestest epised episode
Oh,
and
my
we're like,
goodness.
and like our previously established schedule, we're like, well then, I guess we're not
The
talking about that
fact
one
that
yet.
we're not talking about that for like a month is devastating.
That show's
to me.
winning Emmys. It's going to win Emmys.
If Andy Serkis
He's getting nominated.
doesn't get nominated,
I'm-
I give up. I give
would-
up.
I don't know if they do like betting for the Emmys or the Golden Globes. Like if
You
if
could.
you know, you can go on a sports book, and I would put money on Andy Serkis
He
and Stellan
delivered.
Skarsgård. I would put him down
Stellan's
too.
doing great.
But he would get a supporting actor. Like he's there consistently. But as far as like a
He'd be a
guest actor
guest,
nom goes,
yeah.
I think Andy Serkis might be a lock.
And that end
that was-
scene. We're
I
not going to
was, like,
spoil it, but
Yeah,
crying. I gotta talk about it now, though, man. Like, I can't wait 3 months to talk about friggin'
contractually speaking, I can
Spoiler.
only speak about animated
well,
content
it's
on
Andy
this.
Serkis, so it's on brand.
I guess that's true.
Like, he might not be
rather
animated
animated.
now, but anyway, if I don't talk about I Can't Swim, I'm gonna explode. So that was the most brilliant moment. Because you know the whole time, like, he knew that. He knew
Yeah.
there was one way out. And he kept saying it. So he knew that he wasn't getting out the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes rewatching that episode, I gotta do that, so much stronger. Like, to, like, watch him and know, like, he knows he's not getting out. he knows he's going to die. Or I can't wait to see if he's in the rest of the show because
so he gets
never
taken
saw
back
it.
by the Empire and he gets, reconditioned and he becomes Snoke. It's not that difficult.
Shut up. I just want to see what happens with him because the second that episode ended, I said no body, no death. Like he's not necessarily
it's not
dead.
even no body. He didn't even
Nothing
go in the
happened.
water.
Yeah,
like,
he was
saw
left.
him.
So he either just gets killed,
Yeah.
or
He
because
drowns.
those. I mean, no, we can't get into it. I mean, he could still
got
be
picked
around.
up. If anything, he got picked up by the.
And rearrested, yeah. I don't know if he chose to drown, because maybe he did, or if he got rearrested. I don't know. But I can't wait to see what happens.
Of all the guards, none of the guards would be able to pick that he was the ringleader, except the two in the guard tower
That they left.
who they left alive.
Yeah.
Well, he did say his name out loud over a loudspeaker. For
Yes.
everyone.
That's true.
That's right. He did.
Yeah.
So they do know it's him.
Yeah.
No, that's a different guy.
That's a different Kino Loy. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. As you look at my registration number, I'm clearly.
No, this is pronounced Kaino. This is Kaino. I understand. I get the confusion.
And also, yeah, I mean, listen, I have a very lovely accent, but it's definitely not me. I have a great voice.
You know what I really
have a voice
appreciated?
that could kill people.
The PA announcement, the on program, like deep and menacing, and then the guy that is actually issuing those sounds up like this, and he's they're taking over. Andy Serkis gets on the mic and just sounds like Andy Serkis, even though it's going through the same modulated processor. It just sounds like Andy Serkis.
Do you know what they called that voice in the credits?
What do
No.
you call it?
The voice of God. Quote.
Oh.
It was
Yeah.
literally quote the voice of God.
Yeah.
That is a thing. That is a term. Yeah.
That's
It's
I'm
like just one of those things, yeah.
because a lot of the other shows always have these cameos, but you don't like they're little Easter eggs, but you don't know who they are until you read the credits. Like Book of Boba Fett had quite a few that you would only know that way. Cammy and Fixer were that. So I would read the cast to see what it was, and so far I haven't found anything, but I did appreciate the voice of God
Yeah.
listing.
I was surprised it was an actual dude. I just
Yeah.
figured it was like an automated kind of like, oh, feed in this message. But yeah, it's a dude who has programmed probably himself, I imagine. The Empire wasn't like, you need to sound more intimidating. He was probably like, I need to sound more intimidating. So he
But also-
programmed that thing to
but also
make
you're
him sound more legit.
You're right. Since it's actually a dude, he has to call every single shift individually
Yeah.
and tell people to be on program individually. So he's working like 24 hours a day nonstop,
Yeah.
probably not being appreciated at the work that he's doing.
No. Not at all.
Yeah.
My lord.
Poor guy. It's really
No.
It's
No, he
really
gets no
a
sympathy.
tragedy about voice of God.
Is
My
like the next
brain
Star
just
Wars
went
story?
through the entire conversation about the Death Star contractors from Clerks just went through my head all at once. Like,
Well, they had a resolution to that conversation, which was, no, you know who you're like taking the job
Yeah.
with, so you like don't feel bad for him.
yeah, that's true. But that's why I'm saying the whole thing just like went through my head.
All right.
But yeah, we're talking about a different thing, aren't we?
Yes.
Go
But
on then,
Nicole,
Jim.
how are
Hi.
you doing?
Oh,
it's
I'm good.
it's the week. It's the week.
It's the week.
It's Life Day.
His life day.
My
yeah.
calendar's ticking down.
I know.
Oh,
Yeah,
I got the Lego Advent calendar that you talked about like
Oh, did
3
you?
podcasts ago, like
Oh, yeah,
3
yeah.
that I was on ago.
Yeah.
I got it. It was at Target.
Yay!
I got it for Vicky.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
I
She's
got
not going to
the-
listen to this, so she won't even know.
I got the
Oh.
Droid Builders, the Droid Builder Advent calendar that's in the shape of a sandcrawler.
Ooh.
I got a lint advent calendar that has like the lint like chocolate
Yes.
teddy bears in it. That's what I got.
God. You're like lint. It literally just says dryer lint in every.
Yes, you know what? It's a different dryer sheet for every day.
It's so you can, reuse the stuff that you lose from your clothes and knit it into
Right.
new fabrics.
Yeah, listen.
Now you are bringing up ideas that I need to come up with a lint advent calendar that just says dryer sheets and random little balls of lint.
But the cover does look like chocolate just to mislead people.
Yes, yes, because there's no D in it. It's LINT.
Yeah, and no one's
Yeah.
going to notice that because if you do like a fancy cursive font, it's like, oh, it's a lint chunk. What the hell is this?
Yeah. It's like one of those. Do you remember wacky packages?
No.
They were like cards, like trading cards that would be like, oh, I don't know, like different products, but they'd change the name just a little bit to be like gross, like just a little bit.
Okay.
Like, I'm trying to think of a good one. Let me look it up. Let me look one up. So I'm not like making something up that's not as impactful. Wow.
So this whole
like-
thing would just fall flat, where it's like, oh yeah, it's a thing, and then they had these ridiculous
Yeah.
things. And anyway, moving on.
Well, I
So-
saw pictures of
Okay.
things like an
Here's a good one.
OnlyFans store where they sell OnlyFans.
Yeah,
Like they
yep.
sell the fan. like-
Yep.
So Ritz, instead of Ritz, it's Rats, RATZ, and it's like rat crackers. Weekies are like instead of Wheaties, it's like it makes you like weaker, whatever. Trucks is TRUX, and it's like you get hit by a truck. Pupsy Cola is like soda for dogs.
Oh,
These aren't all great, but there's some really good ones.
They started off so hot with like the this sounds kind of like goofy and gross, and then all of a sudden it's just soda for dogs. Okay,
Yeah,
that's
I
not
don't
so
know.
bad.
There was one really, really good one. Oh God, Crunch instead of Crunch Berries, Crunch Boogies.
Okay, yeah, it's pretty gross.
That's a good one.
that sounds like the 80s right there.
Instead of Country Time Lemonade, it's County Time Lemonade, and it's a dude like breaking like rocks and like a guard like standing over him.
That's good. I like that one.
Cap and Crud's a good one. That's a classic one.
I don't remember
There's
any of these.
also Cap and Crutch, Frosted Snakes, and Afterlife. It's all cereal. JLo. They made a lot of like prison jokes, which back in the day. So they had ones that were like old, like when our parents were kids. Alex, I say to Alex, and then like there was one when we were like.
So Jim,
eight.
when you were a kid,
Right, when we were like 12, there was another series that came out. These might be good.
I
get my meaning.
wanted
You get
to
the
say the
point.
quiet part loud for Nicole.
We
Yeah,
had
I
Garbage
heard it.
Pail Kids when we were a kid.
It's like a
I
similar
remember
thing.
Garbage Pail Kids.
It's a similar situation. Yeah, these are. Oh, there was one that was so funny. It was like the go-to one, and I don't remember. Fitos, Flamin' Hot Fitos.
Ew.
Yeah,
We need to get away from this segment.
Zitcat. That was an insane one.
We need to get out of
Zitcat.
this. This
Sorry,
this is
wacky
getting
packages.
nasty. I don't like it.
Go on, then.
I don't like it
Nicole's
anymore.
stuck.
How'd we get here? How'd we get here? What were we talking about?
I don't
So how are you
know.
doing, Nicole?
That was the
God.
question. The question was, how are you doing, Nicole? And suddenly we're on Speedos.
Lint. It's
Oh,
lint.
Lint.
Lint would be a
Off-brand.
wacky
Yeah.
package. Yes, that's a wacky package.
Goodness me.
Okay. The point is, I'm doing well. I'm ready to go to Disney. I'm being very vocal about me not being home for like a week, but you know what? I think no
As
one
long
knows
as you
where
don't
I
put your
live, right?
address out there, you're fine.
So,
I don't even know your address, and I have your address.
You have my address, yeah. Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm ready to go. I'm so excited. I'm so excited to be in the park on Life Day. I've seen all the merch in the parks, and I'm like, I'm gonna buy it. Like, I'm just gonna. It says Life Day 2022 on it. I'm like, you might as well say Happy Nicole's 30th birthday. Like, it's just very exciting for me. So, I'm buying all of it. I did wish. I think a couple years ago there was stuff that actually had the date on it. Like it said Life Day and then it was like November 17th, 2019 or whatever. And I was really hoping that there'd be something with the actual date on it, but so far there's nothing, which
I would
fine.
imagine they would get away from that because that limits your sellability.
Absolutely. But I mean, even just saying Life Day 2022 on a thing, it's like, how many people are going to buy this? How many humans are going to buy this? If there's one, it's me, you know, but like,
I definitely have seen robes with the Life Day and the date on it.
I want the robe so badly. Like, then they're selling the robe, like a blanket, you know, like a Snuggie, basically. That's like, it says Life Day on it, it's fuzzy, it's red, whatever. And then they're selling the orbs. And I'm like,
It's like you did the log commercial, but with the robe. You know
Yeah.
the log.
the
It's
log.
log. It's log. It's big. It's heavy. It's wood.
Oh yeah, I did that.
It's just, it's fuzzy.
It's fuzzy.
soft,
It's red.
soft.
Yeah. It's great. And the friggin' orbs. And I'm like, I'm gonna come home with a lot of stuff. And my mom's like, this is freaking stupid. And I'm like, you just don't understand, Mom. Like, you just don't understand. Like,
Nicole's like, yes, it is stupid, and it's also mine.
exactly. It's stupid and it's for me. Like, oh my God. Oh my God. Very exciting. How are you, Jim?
I'm doing all right. Like a last recording, I was recording in Florida, and so I
Yeah.
had to reset up all my stuff. I'm back at home. Arrived late last night. Walked in the door about 11:30, and we're recording at 10 a.m. this morning. So I'm here. I'm awake. I'm good.
Yeah.
Florida was good, actually. Nicole did not ruin our vacation. She was more of a
Yay.
hurricane than a hurricane.
The storm, not me. Let's be clear.
Well, although I guess you didn't ruin his vacation either.
I didn't ruin his vacation
Both
either. I
both
hope.
statements can be
They can be true.
factual.
Yeah.
Like, it
One
can-
of them is just a little weird to say with no
Yeah.
context.
Right. Yeah. Sorry, go on, Jim.
So yeah, I'm home. I had lots of pleasant downtime with my mom. Lots of pool time with my daughter. So it was
Great.
a good trip. And now I'm back. It is in the 20s or 30s out, and it is gonna snow today. So yeah, I'm rebooking my trips
Oh, you're
down
in
to
that.
Florida.
You're in that. I just saw that last night. I saw that they were threatening snow, and it said in the New York area. So I was like, okay, well, that's probably not coming down here. And I look at the map, and it's just kind of cut just above New Jersey, and just along like the western part of New York. And I was like, okay, we're fine. But yeah, so
but-
you're in that.
I'm in central New York, is probably as central as you can get.
Yeah.
So yep, it's cold, wet, and gross out. So yeah, that's what I came up to.
Yeah, we
From
were
85 degrees.
we were at the Devils game last night. 9 in
Yes.
a row. Woo.
Yeah, what the heck is going on?
I don't know, but
I love it.
Usually,
I don't know either.
I'm used to going to a Devils game in like the winter and like having like shirt, long sleeve, sweater, and then my jersey on over that.
Yeah.
And going there last night, where it was like 60 degrees last night. I didn't know what to do because I felt like I was wearing almost nothing under this jersey. And then we get into the arena. I'm like, all right, it's gonna be like cooler in there. It's just the same temperature. So we walked out of there almost sweating. I'm not used to it. And then woke up this morning to walk the dog, and there's frost on the grass.
Yep.
The fall
nuts.
weather, still 30 years of being in New Jersey and dealing with New Jersey falls, it still astonishes me how differently day to day can go.
It doesn't make any sense. By all accounts, it doesn't make any sense. Like, it's just bananas. I love it, though.
All right, we got a couple of news items.
Woo!
Your tauntaun will freeze before you reach the first marker. Then I'll see you in hell.
Hello, what have we here?
So first up, I brought it up that we may want to watch it, but Nicole's like, no, I got plans to watch it, so we're not watching it.
yeah.
We're not talking about it, but I
do.
wanted to mention that it is a thing because it came out of the blue. I did not know this was even coming up, and all of a sudden, like, on the what was the 11th, they're like, this is being released tomorrow, and I'm like,
Yeah.
what? Apparently, Studio Ghibli, is that
Ghibli.
Ghibli?
Is it
Yeah,
Ghibli?
you could say it either way. I don't know. I'm going to say I don't know the I say Ghibli. I've
thought it
heard
was
Ghibli.
with the H. I thought it was a Ghibli.
I've only ever heard Ghibli, but I'm not from anybody of authority, so I
I
Yeah.
don't know. Same here. I mean, I've heard it the other way, but I don't know. So,
So-
you know what? I take it back. Say whatever you want to say, Jim.
Okay. I'll stick with Ghibli. They have released a short called Zen, Grogu, and Dust Bunnies.
it sure is short, all right.
It is short. It is like 3 minutes with credits and opening, and it is it's a thing.
So we watched it last night when we got home. It's genuinely 3 minutes. Like even when you see something on Disney Plus, it's like, oh, this episode's 45 minutes, and then it's 7 minutes of credits. This is not that. It's like 5 seconds of credits. So it from the Lucasfilm logo to the end is almost 3 minutes flat,
Okay.
and it's a cute little Yeah, a cute little 3-minute thing.
It's cute. It was completely unexpected, so it's not like I can complain like, "What did you release? This is terrible."
Yeah.
It's like we had no expectations. We didn't know it was coming. I'm interested if this is something. I don't know who is involved with the Visions season 2. We know Visions season 2 is a thing. It was already been announced. So I'm wondering if Studio Ghibli is involved with that, and then they
I'd lose my mind.
but it makes sense is like if that, because I know they're also expanding out to more countries and more animators from across the globe. So I'm wondering if they are involved with season 2 and this was just a side project that they're like trying to get the vibe right of what they wanted to release.
Yeah,
Like
kind of like a
test.
proof of concept kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. And listen, I am a massive fan of those movies. Like, massive. Like, you put Spirited Away in front of me, I'm watching the whole thing beginning to end. Howl's Moving Castle is a masterpiece. Kiki's Delivery Service, also a masterpiece. Masterpiece, hello? Totoro, stop. Like, it's just the cutest stuff. I love it. I love it deeply. And when I go into Mitsukoshi in Japan and Epcot, not the real Japan, I just buy all the Ghibli stuff. I go nuts. I was so excited. I am so excited about this. I could cry. Like, I'm amped as hell and I want more. I'm kind of bummed it's 3 minutes. I'm like, Grogu and Dust, but stop. You stop it. Like,
Well, so it's called Zen.
Yeah.
Grogu and Dust Bunnies.
Yes.
That Zen tells me
is
that it's
more
there's going to be more. And
I
whether
hope
it's all
so.
Star Wars related or if it's more of like a Studio Ghibli and Disney collaboration, they do different animated works on different Disney properties. It does seem like it's the first of a long-standing relationship.
It's
I
first
hope
of
so.
something.
Yeah.
And, we just don't like. We didn't even know this was coming out, so I wouldn't be surprised if we get something else. I think proof of concept is probably the best
Yeah, I agree.
description of what this is.
Yeah, I'm very excited. It's a crossover I didn't know I needed. 'Cause my goodness.
I mean, if you're gonna pair with an animation studio and like up your game, you probably couldn't do much better than Studio Ghibli.
Probably not.
I haven't actually watched any of their movies. I will.
Chef's
I will.
kiss. Very weird, but like, go with it.
Oh, big time weird. I can't say like they're my bread and butter. But the couple that I've seen, like they're enjoyable. They're good. They're well made. They look
Very
gorgeous. They tell very mature and resonating stories. Fun characters, and like Nicole said, they're weird. They're weird.
They're very weird, but also the best animated food I've ever seen in my life. I've never seen bacon look like that. I was like, give me all of that bacon. I want it now. Like, just so good. Oh my lord. Oh. Yeah,
All
it's
right.
just excellent, but it's very strange, but
All right,
highly recommend.
Speaking of bacon, our next piece of news: the
Kevin
Acolyte.
Bacon?
I don't know.
Don't kick that off. Be like, oh, the Acolyte. There's a cast announcement. Speaking of bacon,
Yeah, don't do that.
Kevin Bacon's not in it.
No,
Kevin Bacon
he's
ain't
not
in it.
No, he's not. But I'm 6 degrees of separation. I'm sure we can get back to Kevin Bacon.
I'm sure we could.
I'm terrible at actors, so I wouldn't be able to do it.
There's
but,
got to be a link from Carrie Ann Moss.
I'm like
to Kevin
Carrie Ann
Bacon.
Moss can.
There must be. I was gonna say
yeah.
that's insane to see Carrie Ann Moss in
This
this
cast is. I didn't notice many of these additions. I just looked at the synopsis when that came out the other day, and just thought that sounds incredible. I'm in. But this cast is dope.
I think what they're doing with the Acolyte here is, since a lot of the projects that we have been teased and seem to kind of be getting pushed aside, or at least not mentioned again as if they don't exist, since the Acolyte is actively like filming and everything now, they're like, no, look, we're actually doing something we said we're going to be doing. So they literally took a picture of the first behind the scenes image, which is two of the actors standing there with the director.
It's rehearsals, yeah.
Yeah, in street clothes. It's I find that hilarious. They're like, see, look, we're doing something. And I'm like,
Hoodies in space.
yeah, it's
That would be something.
but we did, you're right. You mentioned, Alex, we got a little bit of a little bit more of a what is this? It says the Acolyte is a mystery thriller that'll take viewers into a galaxy of shadowy secrets and emerging dark side powers in the final days of the High Republic era.
Sold right there.
A former,
Immediately, yes.
a former
And
Padawan.
remember-
Hold on, we're not done.
Go on, though.
A former Padawan reunites with their Jedi Master to investigate a series of crimes, but the forces they confront are more sinister than they had ever anticipated.
Yeah, remember when I was talking about, like, the use of Acolyte in
Yes.
Shadow of the Sith? And I was like, I feel like this is going to have some dark side stuff. Like, they're telling us that the Acolyte is going to be dark side stuff. I love when I'm right. That's all I'm saying. I just love when I'm correct. When that works out for me, it's great.
We already knew that this was going to be a dark side leaning show.
How?
There
How did
were
we know that?
How'd we know that?
either in casting announcements or casting calls or something like that, it seemed that the focus of the story, at least partially, was going to be on someone either turning to the dark side or that one of your main characters was going to be a dark side user or something to that degree. Reading now that it's a former Padawan reuniting with their Jedi Master to investigate a series of crimes tells me that's kind of almost like a Kaiser Soze whodunit, who is this Sith Lord?
Yeah.
And maybe there's like an Act 3 reveal of who the Sith Lord was, and it's not who you expect.
It's the Jedi Master.
I mean,
Oh my God.
Or the former Padawan.
That's what I'm thinking.
And maybe that's where it lives. But I did get the sense that it was about something Sith related.
Yeah.
Looking at this cast is just like hot
Such
damn.
a good cast.
Yep.
Such a good cast.
They announced quite a few cast members, which we had not heard because we knew two of these from before. We knew Amandla Stenberg, and we knew Lee Jung-jae from Squid Games. They had those have been announced. I believe all of the others are new to this announcement, which was Manny Jacinto, Daphne Keene, Jodie Turner-Smith, Rebecca Henderson, Charlie Barnett, Dean Charles Chapman, and Carrie Ann Moss.
What a cast, man.
I'm very excited by several of these. Manny Jacinto, I don't know if you haven't watched The Good Place, it's a must-watch. He's phenomenal. He's hilarious. He's got great timing.
You're right. I didn't even put together that he is absolutely hilarious.
Yes, he's
so
great.
funny.
He was in the new Top Gun, and I think originally when that story seemed to be, it's going to be about the new era of pilots before it became, no, we're going to use Tom Cruise, but as like the main character. So he's in there, but he doesn't really get to do much. But I think that he was brought on as like kind of a high energy chemistry guy for that group, and then they didn't end up using the character, which I mean served that story fine. Daphne Keene, I have not watched the it's not the Golden Compass shows, but
his Dark Materials. So his Dark Materials is probably my favorite book series of all time.
Wow,
and as someone who reads a lot, that is saying something. And so I watched the first season. I don't get HBO, and I don't like to pay extra for things that I'm only going to watch for a month. So I will eventually watch the second two seasons. But the first season was good. She was good.
I mean, she was phenomenal in Logan like 5 years ago. Yeah,
she played, like, the picture that they posted makes her look a lot older than I believe she is. Yeah,
she looks like Anya Taylor-Joy in this picture.
She's only
brunette,
she's only 17 as of now, like this minute, and that picture makes her look mid-20s easily.
Yeah, sure.
It's the Millie Bobby Brown thing where like, you've watched this person act as a 12-year-old, so seeing them be like an adult person is kind of like, oh my God, how old am I then?
Yeah. Millie Bobby Brown really went like from 12 to like 20 in 2 seconds.
Yep.
And
And Carrie Ann Moss hasn't aged a day in 20 years.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
She's
She's
doing great. Yeah, it's a good cast. I'm excited.
The amount of things that Carrie Ann Moss shows up in, especially lately, is like just kind of astonishing to me. The level of like, not just the level of actor that like the Netflix Marvel shows got, and
Yeah,
like
she
she's
was
one of
all
those. But like,
over them.
you know, she was in like 3 of those shows.
At least, but she would also make guest appearances in the other shows. Like I'm
Yeah.
still working my way through them, and she's
She
all
keeps
over the
showing
place.
up. Yeah. It's like, so by the time we got to Defenders and like Sigourney Weaver was one of the main villains, you were almost kind of like, well, you know, this kind of makes sense. Look at the level of people we've gotten for the rest of these shows. But Sigourney Weaver being a Marvel villain was wild in itself. But like Carrie-Anne Moss in the Marvel world, and now in the Star Wars world, and I guess it makes sense. You go back to like The Matrix, like that is huge genre picture and series. So why not? But she's phenomenal, and that's very cool. Great get.
All right. So, well, like we said, they started filming, but I think it's time we actually talk about why we're here.
Yeah, that sounds good to me.
Yeah, we should do that.
All right. We are talking the other half of the Tales of the Jedi shorts. So, like we mentioned a couple weeks ago, the Tales of the Jedi dropped shortly before Halloween. They released 6 shorts, 3 of which were Dooku related and 3 of which were Ahsoka related. And so we are going to focus on Ahsoka this time.
So going in like broad picture, do we know why they split the episodes the way they did? Like why one Ahsoka, 3 Dooku, then the other 2 Ahsoka?
It's weird. We talked about it last time a little bit.
Yeah, we did.
They released that first episode at Celebration, and I thought that's why that's the first episode, but it doesn't have to be that way. Nicole made a good point, as that is the best introduction to the series.
Mm-hmm.
I also thought it was almost chronological order, but then we shot that down.
Yeah, it's not even close to
Yeah.
chronological order, unless Ahsoka is like the same age as Dooku, or even older than Dooku.
Well, so if we consider that the Dooku episodes start, so the last one being his fall would be 10 years before Attack of the Clones, therefore 10 years before Clone Wars, so 10 years before her training montage episode, her second episode. So if you go back, do you have to go back more than like, what is she, 14? 15?
She's 14 at the beginning of the Clone Wars, and so the first episode would be 4 years before the Phantom Menace, and that's how it starts. And it gives like they made a comment like, "Has it been a year already?" And I assume that's referring to Ahsoka is now a year old. Is the only explanation I can make, because she didn't look a year old. Looked like she still looked younger than that, but I don't.
Well,
I don't know how Chiguda's
50-year-old
age.
Grogu looks like an infant.
Yeah. And also apparently the lines on Togruta's faces change as you get older, which is interesting.
That was one thing I was curious about, because she starts with the 4 little dots, and we know that becomes a thing. But
And
also that like the I forget what they call it. Yes.
Montrose.
That when she's like a newborn baby, it's just kind of like a border around her face. But
Well,
that
we
will
knew-
eventually become like the whole.
Yeah, we knew they grew, because every time we see her in the Clone
Yes.
Wars, as they age
They're
her,
longer.
they make
Yeah.
them longer as a age proxy.
But it's almost weird to see like almost
Just the
none of it
stubbins?
on a newborn, just like little.
Yeah.
She looked almost like what's his name? The pirate.
Jack Sparrow.
No,
Hondo?
Hondo, yeah, with
Oh,
the little,
yeah.
the little
Yeah.
like the little pokies around.
Yeah.
So yeah, we first episode, Life and Death, we get newborn Ahsoka, and I think personally, this is probably my favorite of the 3 episodes.
Okay.
Like I know I could see people liking the last episode of the 3 Ahsoka episodes. It was not my favorite for reasons that we'll get into. And not the reasons that most people probably think, actually, but probably tied to those.
I don't know if I could even separate them by like, because I think of them all as one thing.
Yeah.
In my mind, just like the progression of that story, and it tells 3 different points of her life and has 3 different purposes, and kind of understanding why she is how she is and how she becomes Fulcrum, basically. But yeah, I don't know that I'd be able to separate them by quality. I mean, all 6 of these were fantastic and eminently enjoyable over and over and over. But I thought this was a great intro. And even that opening shot of just the landscape over the village and into the hills, gorgeous. Just really beautiful visuals.
It looked like they took artwork that somebody painted and then added little animated inserts to go, no, this isn't a painting. It's like one thing in the background,
It's
like a
like-
little
Right.
ship. Like
It's how they used to make old Disney cartoons, right? Like they would have background artists, like painters, and then you'd have animators like go over it.
and you could tell exactly which thing was going to be moving because it was just a little brighter than everything
Yeah.
else. You're like, that
Yeah.
bush, that's going to be moving.
Yeah. But stunning, absolutely stunning.
Yeah.
Stunning work across the board.
The
Ahsoka is my favorite. Like, I just gotta say that again. Like, I rewatched them this morning, and I just get so happy watching her do anything. Like, anything. Even as a small infant who can't speak. And, like, I'm like, Ahsoka has a kitty. Like, you know what I mean? I'm, like, so excited for her. I'm like, she's got a sharp cat. Like, how cool is that? And, like, watching that character do anything fills me with so much joy that, like, I don't know, man. Like, I love her. I get why everyone, like, a few years ago I was like, I don't get it. I don't get why everyone's like obsessed with this character, whatever. And then I actually watched her and stuff. And now I'm like, I'm feral. I'm like, give me more all the time. I love her.
She, between the beginning of the Clone Wars and the end of the Clone Wars, she grew into like a fan favorite. And so,
Yeah.
but it to the point where, like, I like this character. I think it was when they brought her back in Rebels that all of a sudden you realized, you're like, wow, she's like an amazing character. I'm so glad they brought her back in Rebels. And it was from that point on, they're like, I don't care what she's in. Like, I want her in everything. And
It
like,
does
and
read
everything.
like some kind of retroactive reappreciation of the Ahsoka character. It did kind of happen probably around 2015, 2016.
Yeah, she's just, and I love just that they're adding stuff for her. Like, obviously, like, I love this kind of, like, look at her family and her lovely parents. What a lovely, lovely pair of people. And a badass pair of people. And, like, I love them. And, like, they love her. Like, her dad going, my little Ahsoka, killed me. I was like, and that look on their face when they hear Ahsoka is Jedi. Because they know what that means. That means they lose her.
So
Like,
that's what
period.
I thought. I thought this was going to be the full story of Plo Koon coming to scoop her up.
which I wanted to bring that up. I'm surprised we didn't get that.
Yeah.
I wonder if it's because they're like, you know that story.
Yeah.
You know how that went. Like, let's show you something completely
I'm
different.
just surprised that
which is
Dave
cool.
Filoni had the self-control to not
to
put
not use Plo Koon.
like Plo Koon.
Yeah.
He's in the training episode, just sitting there watching, but he doesn't have any lines of dialogue. But he loves Plo Koon.
Yes.
It's his favorite Jedi. I think he said it's his favorite Jedi.
Yeah.
Like number
Yes.
one, right?
Well, like he
Which
stamps
is why
things
they
Plo
chose
cool.
him.
Yeah, so to see that like his ship did not land like at the end and just Plo Koon approaching the village, that didn't happen, is a level of control I didn't know Dave Filoni had.
Love that for him. Yeah. Just brilliant. I don't know if I've ever seen a story, and y'all can correct me if I'm wrong, watching a Jedi or a Force-sensitive person, like, kind of find out that that's what they are. Like, I don't know that we've ever seen that.
So I
know?
wanted to bring up is we almost have never seen the families of the Jedi.
Yeah.
Like other than
Yeah.
Anakin, obviously, who I guess we kind of saw him find out he's a Jedi.
I mean, kinda. I'm sorry to interrupt you, Jim, but he says he's like, he can make stuff happen and he could do stuff, and he's the only like pod racer who's a human being. Like, he like has all the hints that he's Force sensitive
It's
without
also
knowing that he's a Jedi.
not a one for one in that the only thing he wants in life at that point is to get out get off of Tatooine. He would like his mother to come with him, of course. But he wants out of his life. I'm sure it's not a typical point of a Jedi's journey when they're picked up as a much younger individual when they find out that there's a Force-sensitive person out there and is taken away from their family. Like, very different context.
Right. The question is, like, does Ahsoka even remember this?
I would imagine, obviously we don't know Togruta. They can do whatever they want with Togruta. I would assume if they're following the human path, and no, she wouldn't remember this.
She wouldn't, yeah.
I would be interested to know if they know Shakti. And that's because just throwing out that she survived because she's a Jedi, like that seems to be, especially this is not a major industrialized society. It's more of a simple society. Not to don't want to say derogatory terms because
but like a rural village.
And so how would they know about the Jedi, especially since the Jedi are so few and far between when you're dealing on a galactic scale? Unless they know about Shakti or another Togruta Jedi we don't know about.
It's possible.
Well, I think when you also think about a rural village, small settlement, family-oriented, stories get passed down. And I have to imagine that stories of Jedi have been passed either from elders to the youngers or from passing travelers that may come through the village. Like, I think that story is always going to be a big part of any kind of culture that gets depicted in fiction. And particularly when it's something like this, that's very kind of, this is a people that are very part of nature and have these very strong customs. And, Pavti brings Ahsoka out on her first hunt as a 1-year-old. There's a story there. And I think that part of that is understanding that Jedi exist, or that the Force is all-encompassing part of nature that we all have a part in, whether or not we're Force-sensitive or not. And I think that maybe is in there, even if there's just an understanding that Jedi do exist. But nowhere would they expect that their 1-year-old child is a Jedi, because who would?
No. That's why I think, I do wonder. I mean, yes, their reaction shows us that the parents know what a Jedi is, so never really mind. But I was going to say, clearly this village elder is a spiritual person of some kind, right? The way people treat her, the way, she kind of blesses them a little bit, or some equivalent thereof.
Like the Simba thing, you mean? Yeah,
exactly. I would understand why she would know what a Jedi is, Okay, but the fact that at least the parents react to that,
we know what
shows us that
everybody knows what it is. Yeah. Also,
so I wonder if they do know Shakti. It's a good shout.
Also, the animation on the village elder is probably the best animation of the entire series.
It's so good.
They all the it's beautiful animation, the whole series, but it's they went double on the village elder.
There's a certain photorealism to it.
Yeah. On the other hand, I don't know if anyone agrees with me, because I think it's a personal taste thing, but our saber-tooth big cat is the most... I was like, that's a lot of polygons.
Yeah, I thought the same thing.
I was like, that is a sharp, and I don't just mean the teeth, that's a sharp cat.
Yes.
And it didn't feel like it fit, and maybe that's on purpose. Maybe that's on purpose, that it feels so starkly different than everything else in this episode.
It gives it a ferocity, I think, but I don't think the rendering was the cleanest thing.
I didn't love it. That's all I'm going to say about it, is I didn't love that design. But
the
it is what it is.
Generally, it was fine. It's the first shot we get of it when it's walking up to Ahsoka's mom, and you're getting the head-on view. It looked weird when it was walking. It looked very, you're right, boxy. It reminded me of anybody who's seen it, Beast Wars, where 90s animation style of these animals who are robots. And so it looked like something like that. And so it was one of those
I think once it's taken Ahsoka into the woods and she is calming it, and it's kind of shrouded in darkness, it blends better. And
does.
It's
It does.
going to our conversation last time we were on. I think it was last time we were talking about, there was a brief interlude about the Hobbit, as there usually is. And my problem with the rendering of the main orc being this bright white dude in this, like, you know, kind of sooty, ashen, war-torn region that just looked terrible. But when you can shroud something in darkness, and I think that's why the T-Rex in Jurassic Park works in 1993, you can blend it easier. When you introduce this thing in broad daylight in the middle of this meadow where it's just grass and two, you know, humanoid models that they have used for other shows and are now bringing into Tales of the Jedi. There's going to be a little bit of a mismatch, and your eye is going to kind of be drawn to this saber. I'm just calling it a saber tooth because it is. And yeah, it's kind of, I don't want to say off-putting, but it was a little like, oh, okay.
Yeah, it just didn't. Everything else, polished is a really good word for it. Everything else felt more polished to me, and I didn't know if it was just because I didn't understand the animation style, which is fair. Like, I'm not an artist. I have no idea what it takes to do these things. I know it's a lot, and I know it's a lot of skill and talent and all of that. So I have no idea, but it just felt, compared to everything else in the show, period, it stood out to me. And I thought
agree.
That was strange.
I thought the same thing, but it didn't distract me from like the story going on or the characters or the purpose of why we're here. So at least there's that. Because sometimes you see like wonky CGI or a bad character model or something that doesn't look right. You know, the car crash from In Time, that Justin Timberlake movie, is one of the worst CGI renderings I've ever seen in my life. When you see something like that, you're like, oh man, that's kind of like blows the whole scene wide open for me. This was not that.
Yeah. No. Oh, no. I still was totally in. It just like, I wish that it was, that tiger thing was a little different. Because it would have been, if that was gorgeous, if that was, and that is subjective, of course, but like if that was at the level and in the style of everything else in the show, I would have been stunned by that thing. But it felt like something out of Ice Age. And I wasn't
could see that too.
sold. You know, I was just like, are its hair standing on end? Is that what we're going for? I don't understand why it's so lumpy. Like, why is the tiger so lumpy?
I wake up every morning and look in the mirror and go, why are you so lumpy?
Why is it so lumpy? Like, and that's the thing too, right? Like, it could have looked like the tiger thing in Attack of the Clones, and I would have been like, sure. But it's just a saber-toothed tiger. You know, like, I'm looking for a Star Wars animal.
You're thinking Nexu?
Right. I'm like, why is it it's just a saber-toothed tiger? Like, I don't know if that, I didn't love the design of that animal. And it's so important in Ahsoka's story that's why I'm harping on it. Like, that moment is what changes her entire life. And that's why we're seeing it, right? But it's like, I just wish it was a different look.
Yeah.
I wish it was a different design.
Well, the deer looked good.
Deer looked great.
The Kaibuck.
Sure.
Kaibuck. Yes. It said Kaibuck braying or whatever the heck in the subtitles, and I was like, great. But we never got a name for this tiger thing.
No, just low growl.
Yeah.
Low growl.
Snarling.
We got mom murdering an innocent beast, and no, don't look away, child. You must watch how I disembowel this this animal in front of you.
Understood that.
I thought we were getting a reverse Bambi. When the tiger came out, I was like, we're doing the Ahsoka's gonna witness her mom getting absolutely decimated.
Yeah.
And that is the opening of this story. We're doing Bambi. I'm glad we didn't do Bambi.
Yeah, me too. I'm really glad everyone's alive at the end of that episode.
Well, I guess technically Pavti does do a Bambi
where she
with this family of
Kaibuck.
I liked it. I thought that was cool. I thought it was an interesting cultural thing to know those things about the Torguda, because we don't know a ton about them as a people.
And she was gonna bring that. She was gonna be able to bring that Kaibuck back with a baby on her, like strapped to her shoulders.
You bet she was. She was dope. I love Pavti.
She was like, "Do you think we can bring it back?" Like, of course we can bring it back. We use what we need, and we're gonna get this thing back to the village. Like, hey, all right,
okay, mom. I'm like, yeah, that's Ahsoka's mom.
I couldn't do it.
like, no doubt, I was like, correct. Like, that is Ahsoka's mom. That is Ahsoka's dad. This all makes sense. Everything about this makes sense. I thought it was brilliant. And to do that in, like, a handful of minutes is really impressive.
Like, the animation looked great. Like, Ahsoka's mom looked like she would be Ahsoka's mom.
Yeah, 100%.
The voice actress was absolutely fantastic.
So good.
Janina Gavankar.
Yep.
Yeah, she was absolutely fantastic.
Star Wars legend now. I mean,
they even I believe
she's all over the franchise.
If I remember right, they brought her out on stage at Celebration after this to talk to her about voicing Ahsoka's mom, and she was great.
So she's very like into being in Star Wars. So she is Iden Versio in Battlefront 2.
Oh, okay.
And has done a lot.
That's right. You're right.
Yeah,
I remember her saying
she's
that.
done a lot of like pushing for that character, and like they made a custom pop figure of that character and sent it to her, and she posted this video of how like excited she was to have, like, she was a Star Wars pop, and she like almost broke down in tears. And then I saw in her credits she was assistant puppeteer or additional puppeteer or something in Mandalorian season 2, The Heiress, the Bo-Katan introduction.
Okay.
So even just behind the scenes, she's showing up to be part of Star Wars, which I love to see in just any performer, any established person that's like done other things. And she's done like comedy shows, and she's been all around. But the fact that she keeps coming back to Star Wars in a different capacity is just like they're doing the right stuff. They're bringing people in that get really enthusiastic about it.
Yeah. I agree.
So I want to add one more comment on the tiger. Yes, it looked really weird when he first saw it, but the moment when Ahsoka touches the tiger's nose and you kind of get that big shootout frame, that I already picked that as my picture for the episode because it was I'm like
unbelievable.
I'm like, okay, I'm done. That's it.
Like, she booped the snoot and I almost cried. Like, and listen, I would too. Let's be honest. If that big, I mean, listen, if I had a spine, that big cat, I would have just been like, I need to, like, I watch videos all the time of like people going around like big cat sanctuaries or whatever, and like booping snoots of like tigers and panthers and leopards and a cheetah. My favorite had a hyena in it. I almost cried. Like, I love that. I'm like, I want to boop a big snoot. And I got so excited that she booped the snoot. And like, then the cat was like, all right, you can ride me now. Get on my back. Like, whatever.
We're cool.
Yeah. All right. Like, just what a sweet cat. I just,
Well, it wasn't until it was touched by the Force.
Correct. You're right. But like, it also reminded me of like Ezra's whole thing where he communicates with animals really well. It was cool to see another Jedi do it, and the fact that it's Ahsoka, I love that. I wish I got to see her do that more, but that's not her thing, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But I guess moving on to the second bit of this, there's not much to say about it. It's cool as hell. It's a really interesting concept, and I didn't need an explanation of how she survived Order 66, like we saw it. But, like, it's kind of cool to add that in, like...
Yeah, I think more of it was,
why.
We never see Anakin train Ahsoka. We just see them on missions together and their banter and why they make sense as Master and Padawan pairing. But to see that he was actually, like, these are the tests that all the Jedi go through and they're fine, but I can give you a better test against my best squadron. Right. And I mean, any excuse to get more Captain Rex and the 501st, I'm in on. Anytime I hear D. Bradley Baker in Star Wars, I'm happy. I'm thrilled by that.
I laughed so hard at the Jesse hit you really hard.
Yeah, sorry Commander. Yes,
Commander.
I love that. I love that bit.
I laughed
Such a good
so
bit.
hard.
Yeah.
I don't know why I love like an off, like back camera, like really off mic line read so much, but I love it.
It does hit a specific like enjoyment point when it is that
so
read. Yeah.
So
funny.
The second episode or the fifth episode now of the series, Practice Makes Perfect.
Yes.
Again, they could have gone like Ahsoka Dooku, Ahsoka Dooku, Ahsoka Dooku.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised
why.
they didn't do that.
Yeah, I have no idea.
I mean, the Dooku episodes were great as a 1, 2, 3, and I was like enthralled by that whole story. Having to now rewatch the Ahsoka, because I've watched them a few times now for this talk. Again, it's the same thing with Clone Wars we talked about. It's kind of annoying when you're like, okay, episode 1. Now I got to go forward to episode 5.
Yeah.
Whatever.
It's a little easier when everything is released at once.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, we get training montage, which is right near the beginning of her apprenticeship. I can't place when they
No,
did
but that's a young Anakin.
weird-
He's
Yeah,
just
but-
snipped his Padawan braid Anakin for sure.
And also Obi-Wan doesn't show up because I don't know what that was on the bench next to Anakin. It was not Obi-Wan.
Yeah, I don't know what that was either.
That's probably my most hated of this entire animation style is whatever they did to Obi-Wan.
It's just him with the long hair from Attack of the Clones.
But he doesn't have the long hair in any of the Clone Wars.
Well, no, that's true. But they had the armor of like the early
He has
Clone Wars
Jesus
days.
hair in Attack of the Clones.
Yes,
Yeah.
but that's not in the Clone Wars series. He
No,
never,
you're
and
right.
we even read in the book in Brotherhood they talk about him chopping
Why
off.
he cut his hair.
Yes, and so he never had the long hair in the entire series.
Absolutely right. You're
And
absolutely
so
right.
why does he and he looked weird. He looked like he was not like fuzzier like facial hair like he literally looked his animation
was
style
blurry.
looked like he was blurry. Yes, it was
Yeah.
it was super weird.
Yeah.
And also Anakin made a very weird comment that it kind of off-putting for me where Obi-Wan said something, I'd have to look up exactly what the wording is, but it said something like, "Oh, she looks like she was trained well,"
Yes.
and Anakin's
I
like,
wouldn't really know.
"Yeah, I wouldn't
I
know."
wouldn't really know.
What? Like,
Yeah, I don't. I think it was.
Is it badly read sarcasm?
Yes, I think it's. I don't know if it's that because I mean I trust Matt Lanter.
Yeah.
Yes,
Is there an
Lanter.
N at the end of that?
yes.
Lord above. I trust him to always do like a line read correctly. But I read it as like these tests aren't proving that to me. Like, does she learn well? I don't know because these tests aren't showing me that.
Yeah.
Like he's down on the test. That's what I got from it.
I can see
know?
that, and it reinforces that point of I don't agree with how they're training the Padawans. So she was obviously trained as a youngling before being entrusted to the care of Anakin, and I think it could be a comment on that, like, oh yeah, she, sure, she's done well for where she is now, I'm sure, but she could be better. And I can do
like
better.
she's not proving to me that she actually can learn what's necessary quickly. That's what I got. It is a strange line. It's a very strange line, and the placement and all of it is very weird.
It was very.
As is the like when she says what do you think or whatever, and he goes, "You don't want to know." It's like, but she does because she just asked.
It was
What?
very
Like, it's very weird.
dismissive of Anakin, and had we not watched the Clone Wars movie where he kind of agreed to take her on, like it seemed like it just seemed very dismissive of him when we had already seen happened prior to this event, where he is willing to train her.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's just I don't think it has anything to do with his training. I think it's like it's just a snarky comment about the training.
And again, like this, and this is the shortest of the 3. It's genuinely 12 minutes with credits.
It's less than 10.
So we got to
credits.
get to the point where he's like, they say that these, and that the other thing was, and maybe it was Obi-Wan. These are the new training droids. They're meant to mimic the battle droids on the field. And his response to that is, well, I'm going to have my squad open fire on her and see how she does.
Yeah.
Which is a very Anakin move.
Very Anakin move, for sure. And I just loved the sequencing, the fact that we jumped time 3 times in this episode.
Twice.
And we know 3 times because she's wearing different clothes.
And the helmets advance
The helmets
to show
are different,
that time is passing.
And Anakin is not there. So it shows that throughout the Clone Wars, she is doing these...
Well,
like,
we have
that
3
initial...
different time periods, but we only jump time twice.
Fine.
Yes, correct. Yes.
Sure, yes.
I don't know why, and it's not even that early anymore. We've been on this for an hour and a half. But that took me a while to track that. Yes, okay.
Yes.
So there's early days in the hangar, and then in the ship.
Jumps.
When she has 2 lightsabers also
Correct.
shows you that she's now in mid Clone Wars run.
Now,
Correct. And
two
then the end.
lightsabers makes that test a lot easier.
Yeah.
Because she can
But they're
guard
shorter.
both sides
they
of her.
are shorter. They're really short lightsabers,
Right.
but yes.
But she can then block in front and behind.
Doesn't matter how long it is. It just needs to be wider than you.
yeah, you're right.
She just has to be able to, like, guard her back and front at the same time because, like, these guys are firing at random intervals and obviously trying not to hit each other. But there's overlap in the shots fired. And two lightsabers makes that a lot easier.
Easier. Yeah, you're right.
So I want to bring up before we move on to the near the end. Did you notice when she's doing the initial test, we bring back Tara Sinube from the Lightsaber Lost episodes? But did you notice the two Jedi in the back?
Well, I saw Plo Koon and Yoda.
It was Caleb Doom,
No.
and
You stop it.
that's the character in the back. There's a little kid in the back, and Depa Balaba, who wouldn't make sense if she is his master at this point. So it must be obviously before they are master apprentice, but they are together in the back. And
In the
they
trainings, in the initial training session. I thought you meant like with Rex.
Oh, no. I knew he meant in the dojo.
Sorry, my brain did
test.
not work.
But yeah,
Yes.
I had no idea that was supposed
Caleb
to be. Wow.
I noticed that they were making a big deal about him.
They did, yeah, there was.
But I didn't put it together that that's our little boy Kanan.
And I thought I was
That's
getting
our
better at
kid.
picking up on those things. Of like, why are they
Yeah,
showing
no.
this? And I never pick up on it. Like, oh, it's just like context of this young Padawan being impressed with her performance.
Yeah,
Which means
exactly.
she is excelling.
To be fair,
Yeah.
I saw it on Twitter and went, oh. So it wasn't me. But
That's
yes.
cool. That's really cool that's who that is. It makes total sense. I just like didn't put it together. That's really cool. Yeah, I don't know.
Now-
I like this episode a lot just because of like
It's enriching.
I felt it is. It's cool. I love the like relationship between her and the clones. Always have like their little their Ahsoka Tano like helmets like make me cry every time. Like love that. Like love her and Rex, all of that stuff.
Yes.
Love watching her grow in like the span of 10 minutes. So cool.
My question about that first training session, because the first time she gets hit with the stun, she's out for an hour.
Yes.
And they kept training on that day, and she keeps getting knocked out. And they say, you're waking up quicker and quicker, but we don't know in what increment. And every time she wakes up, the sun is still up. And Coruscant days aren't necessarily much longer than like your standard Earth rotation, from what I understand. So either that is the summer equinox or their equivalent of that, or she was adjusting to the stun very successfully.
really quick. Yeah, I don't know.
Because there wasn't much time passage there, and it's such a, and I'm not even gonna say nitpicky because I don't care at the end of the day, but it is something I noticed, where it's just like she keeps getting knocked out. That we've done, it's that scene in Miracle where they're bag skating. Kurt Russell's going again, again.
I play for the United States of America.
Yeah. That. Yes. And it's Anakin going again. So it's the same day, but was it like she was out for an hour and then half an hour and then 15 minutes and then 7 minutes and like
I would
increment?
assume it's some variety of like significantly faster as
Because the
opposed to
fact
like
that they
an hour each
mentioned it
time.
was telling me that it was like an hour and then like 58 minutes and then maybe 50 minutes and then maybe 45,
Yeah. I don't know, man. But I don't know. I felt like it was really good. My one nitpick is that like Rex didn't need to say like, wow, like good thing you had all that training. I'm like, I get it.
Yeah.
I get what you're showing me. I got it. I got it, babe. But like
I think
don't
it
know.
was just to drive home where we were at, because if you're not paying attention to the line of troopers in front of them when they enter that hangar and they're all wearing the orange helmets.
And they're also in the background blurry that you can't really like unless you freeze frame it or like paying close attention, them all wearing the orange helmets wouldn't be obvious.
But it's a weird callback just for that moment, for her to have been away for so long. It's after she quits the Jedi Order, she comes back, they do the Siege of Mandalore, and that in that moment his callback is, oh, remember those training exercises, those very specific training exercises that we went through? Not all the battles that we've been through over the years, not everything that's bonded us together. Remember those specific, we were in a circle shooting you? Let's see if that comes in handy.
It's because It makes sense to me because that's the only time she's ever had to fight a clone. Every other Jedi ever has never had a clone shoot at them. Ahsoka has a million times because it shows that, like, the time jump, that first time jump, shows us that she's been doing this consistently. Like, this is a thing she does maybe every day. She does this all the time. So a clone shooting at her is not as jarring for her as it is for everybody else. So I think that's what he's referencing, and I like that.
I like, sure.
But, like, I don't know that I needed it. But you had such a short episode, like, every detail is important, or whatever, and they want to drive that home.
You can't miss anything.
Yeah.
So yeah, I get it.
Though I liked it. I liked it a lot. That might be
your nitpick,
the one that hit me the hardest.
The note,
just because I love that at the end of Clone Wars so much.
I can
that
see
enriching that in any way was so cool to me. And yes, seeing Anakin train her at all, really, really cool. I don't know. It hit me really hard, that one. It really did.
The note of, like, driving home that Anakin is the one that trained one of the most, what ends up being, clearly, she has a reputation, famous Jedi survivors of the Purge.
Yeah.
Because as we move into the final episode here...
You're supposed to be dead.
Yeah. The sixth brother, if I'm not mistaken?
Yeah, before we
think so.
Before we get to that, just last comments. I would say, like, it was probably my least favorite of the 3 episodes is this one, the second one, mostly because of how we like that words, the various comments by Anakin at the beginning, and then they kind of, like, turn on their heel when he picks her up and he explains, like, what he's doing. Like, I'm like, okay, I like that. I like him, like, reaching down to, like, this is what I'm doing. This is why I'm doing it. You need to get better so that you can survive. Like, oh, okay, that almost fixed the off-putting comments at the beginning. Also, you're late.
Yeah.
I thought, and then we did the
You're
joke
right on time.
twice.
Oh, I thought I was late. That's what I mean.
And we did the joke twice. And I'm like, I didn't need the joke twice.
Is it some kind of...
It's a joke twice because they're showing you that Anakin is picking up on Obi-Wan's stuff, like, which we don't see him do a lot.
It wasn't the cleanest way to do it, and I don't know that the bit landed probably like they wanted it to, but I understand it. And I
understand it. I got
the intent.
It works for like the unique vibe and relationship and chemistry between Obi-Wan and Anakin, which they're very close, friendly. You're my brother, Anakin. That whole thing. But then that the Jedi that he trained is now training Ahsoka in the same way, and they have this kind of banter and back and forth that I think you don't typically see. When you see Jedi and Padawan on the battlefield in Clone Wars, they're almost kind of just like in sync enough to be like, I need to follow the orders of my commander, my master, yes, without question. And that is not the relationship that Obi-Wan and Anakin have, nor is the relationship that Anakin and Ahsoka have. I don't know if the joke really worked the second time, but I get it.
All right, so the last episode, Resolve, let's hit the elephant in the head before anything else, is that this is the one with the continuity issues. And I even looked up online and I read everywhere, and people were commenting about the Dooku, and Dooku pretty much didn't have any continuity issues. They're all 100% in this episode. And from what I gather, it is that Dave Filoni gave notes to E.K. Johnson. Those notes are what both her book and this episode are based on. Not like, it's not that Dave Filoni did something completely different. He based his episode on the notes. The book was also based on the notes. And so they're two different interpretations of the same notes. So that's why you're getting two different stories, but very, very similar stories. And so it's
I don't mind.
I don't terribly mind, because it's not like Dave Filoni was ignoring what she did. It's kind of, they both, like, yes, he obviously should have looked at what she did because that's now what is canon, but it is what it is. It's not a blatant disregard of what she had done.
Yeah, it's
It
a
is
condensed
just-
retelling, from what I understand, of
and
certain events told into a day and a half of story, basically.
And it
Yeah.
this show skips so many parts of that story or this episode that it's almost jarring to me watching it. Like I could see why like this one like people enjoy it, but it's jarring knowing the book fills in a lot of the details between like the jump points. And it's like it's the book almost feels like it makes more sense than this episode does to me.
I think when you're doing a visual telling of something, that's going to be most of the audience's canon reference point. So
Yep.
unfortunately for those in the written world, their work can be the easiest to kind of wipe off
Retcon.
the slate.
Yep.
Not necessarily completely clean, like, no, that never happened, but to tell the three stories that he wanted to tell, it's just easiest to say, okay, well, this is what happened, but to expand on that, you could go to this book, but now you understand why she joined the rebellion.
Yeah. Excuse me. Yeah, I haven't read the book yet. I have it. It's in my to read pile. And I'll probably like devour it in a day and a half when I do read it. But like, I don't know. I just liked the story, and now I'm just excited to read the book. Now, I don't know. Without having that in your head,
I mean,
and
speaking
just
of
watching it in isolation,
yeah,
I mean, it's pretty freaking great.
speaking of visuals, the burning village and the sixth brother and
Oh
their
my
like brief,
God.
however brief it was, that showdown, like that is stunning. His look with the fire behind him and that mask, and like that was just really well rendered. It looked intimidating. Now, of course, he's an inquisitor, which means that he's weak as hell and is easily dispatched.
Yeah.
And it's Clancy Brown.
It is Clancy Brown. How
Yes,
cool
I was
is
like,
that?
hello. I was like, it's my boy Savage. I was like so excited.
Speaking of, established Star Wars people showing up all over the place, Clancy Brown, who's now voiced 3 or 4 prominent characters in
Yeah.
just about every animated series of Star Wars now. Because he went from
Also,
Savage to, what's his name from Rebels?
Ryder.
Yes,
Ryder.
yes. Now the sixth brother, whose face got
that-
sliced off.
Revan looking son of a gun.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, oh, you're really just like playing to people right now. Like, you're just teasing people with how close he looked to Revan.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I had to be like, would that make sense?
Well, no,
I'm,
'cause
like,
we have
sitting there
Reva.
going, yeah,
Who
yeah.
is their now
Yeah.
canon version of Revan?
Revan.
Well,
Yeah.
we also it's not his real head. It clearly was a balloon. Because
Yeah,
when it
right.
got chopped off,
Apparently.
it deflated.
Yeah, I don't know what that. It was like. It reminded me of the whole Obi-Wan kind of like passing into dust thing
Mm-hmm.
that he does when he dies. But I'm like, the Inquisitor did that. That's
It
interesting.
was kind of missing that, like, let the squeak of letting the air out of the balloon. It was missing that.
Yeah.
Also, your
But I also-
filters filtered you out.
We didn't
I
hear
know,
that.
but I saw the waveform,
We
so
know.
you're gonna hear it when you listen back.
Right.
It's there. I promise, it's there.
I like this like whole like Ahsoka has a girlfriend question mark a bit. Like I was like, this is fun for
Yeah,
us.
you know who I didn't like? The brother.
No, I hated
What an
him.
a-hole.
But the sister's cool. I wish she had a name.
I'm sure she does in the credits. Jim?
Yeah, I'll let you know in a
She's-
second. I pulled them up.
I
just
swear
I didn't
she's
recognize
credited
her.
as village sister. is what
Village.
I
It is
believe.
Village brother and Village sister. Yep.
Yep.
Well, that's
how
confusing
she's
when you're talking
credited.
about the sixth brother coming into play. Like, the village, like,
Yeah.
are these village inquisitors?
Well, he's just Inquisitor in the credits.
Oh, he's not the
Yeah.
sixth brother.
Yeah.
No, Dave
I mean, it
Filoni
is,
did
but
say it was the same character from the book.
it's
So.
the
Yeah.
same guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I dug it. There were some dialogue things I had an issue with, like when she's coming back and she's saying to Ahsoka, like, they took us for all we're worth. Like, I couldn't even get the same price I got. Like, there's a different way to deliver that information besides her telling Ahsoka what Ahsoka already knows because she was there. You know? I'm like, you
heavy-handed.
easily could have been like,
Yeah.
I really thought we could have gotten like at least what we got last year. Like, I'm really, I don't know how I'm going to tell them. Like, that's how you deliver that line.
Mm-hmm. And wouldn't they, when
That
they're
bothered
leaving
me.
and the brother says, "May the Force be with you," wouldn't that, like, elicit a stronger reaction from Ahsoka where she'd be like, "Oh, damn, I'm found out," because This
Yeah, I
person
really
who
didn't like
believes
that.
so wholeheartedly in the Empire and what they're doing just said to me, "May the Force be with you." They wouldn't say that unless he overheard our conversation, and now my alarm bells are going off.
Yeah, especially
This
Ahsoka.
dude that
Like,
can't stack hay knows
yeah,
something.
What the heck? Yeah, don't like that.
That really bothered me.
And
The
he's-
stacking of the hay was so obviously like, you would never stack hay like that.
Yeah,
you
it
idiot.
was so stupid.
I hated that.
There were
I hated
too
that
many
kid. I
of
hated him.
those little. I did too. Too many of those little moments where I was just like, "This is cool. The end is so cool."
Yeah.
And I love how she. I'll tell you what I loved. The beginning.
Yes, that's
At
where I wanted to
Padme's
get
funeral,
to.
Her face when she's like, "She was my friend."
Her voice is different too. Like it almost is not Ashley doing Ahsoka in that moment.
Yeah, because we never get Ahsoka having that much. We never see that from her delivering lines. We get moments when she's silent and like sad, but we never get Ahsoka grieving
Yeah.
and speaking. And it was so stark and such a lovely performance. I feel like I don't talk about Ashley Eckstein because, like, it's obvious that we all love her. But holy hell, she was giving us everything in these 2 episodes. Her performance showing the aging of Ahsoka in her voice. Oh my god, Ashley is the best. Like, I love her to death. I love how much she loves Ahsoka. I love how talented and good she is.
She got to visit the Ahsoka set. Finally.
I love that for her. I love that. I wish... I understand.
Yeah.
I understand all of it. I really wish she had a chance, even a shot, to play Ahsoka in live action because I would have died.
Yeah, I think
I'm
there's
sure
room
Rosario
for her
Dawson
to...
is going to kill it.
yeah.
I'm sure.
She already has.
She already has. I have no doubt. And also, I am one of those people who subscribes to the idea that if we ascribed a race to Ahsoka, she would be a woman of color. I completely understand that. And like... subscribe to that.
I think that's
100%.
If that was ever a question that is solidified by the introduction of her village and how that's
Yes.
very modeled
Yes.
after, that the Middle Eastern region, whether it's supposed to be modeled on like Pakistan or India or something in that realm. Now, Janina Gavankar is
She's Indian.
Is Indian.
Yeah.
I was looking. I was
Indian
trying to
descent.
figure out I believe her father was also played by an Indian representative.
Yes.
The name Pavti
Yes.
is very close to like poverty, which is,
Yeah, so
an
it
Indian
so
name.
it
So,
does
yeah,
seem
it
to
all tracks.
Yeah,
It all tracks.
and it's one of my favorite things about as they expand these stories, and even in the animated form especially. But when you're seeing that different planets represent different areas of our world, where like Ryloth, they speak with French accents. And then in that arc of Clone Wars where Padme goes to negotiate some funds with Space Switzerland, it's in the snowy mountains. Like, the fact that we have these planets that represent different regions and therefore different dialects and different people and representing these different cultures, like it brings that home, that by casting Rosario and by showing that Ahsoka's upbringing in this rural village is very much modeled after that part of the world, like it all gels. It makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, yeah, with all that said, I understand exactly why Ashley is not the live-action Ahsoka.
Yeah.
I still love her. I mean, is there anything else we want to say about... I mean, it's so good. It's so good.
It is. I mean, it's
also good.
It's a great story. I think condensing it to the opening conversation with Bale and how she's not ready to take on that responsibility, and she's going into hiding, and she wanted to come and honor her friend, and then she's going off on her own adventure. When she goes to the ship and Rex is there waiting for her, I was like, oh, so they're still paired up at this point, and we don't know exactly when they split off, but obviously it's sometime between her leaving Naboo and when we pick up, and she's Ashla. Now, is that a tie to Ashley Eckstein calling her Ashla?
Ashla is the name of the light side of the Force in the original Lucasfilm or Lucas drafts. So it was the Ashla and the Bogan, and so it's callback way back to that.
Interesting. But yeah, so obviously they split off, and there is room, I guess, for more Tales of the Jedi to expand on different characters and give them their own arcs. Like seeing Yaddle on the Dooku ones, I'm sure you guys exhausted this conversation today. But even just kind
How
of
lovely.
tying that character into this larger character whose story it actually is. But the fact they could go back and tell you more about Plo Koon or Kit Fisto or Shaak Ti could get more of a, more development. It opens up a
what I
lot of
said.
possibilities. Now, they could also go away from Tales of the Jedi and do more of a Rex thing. And how does he gather up Gregor and Wolf and end up doing that thing? And is that a story that's to come? Is that going to be in Ahsoka?
Yeah.
But there's so many places you could go by establishing more about these characters that you love and you're interested in.
Each do a short anthology.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I loved it.
Yeah, I guess wrapping up, I think you had made a comment that the jumping in time, I think that's probably like the book filled in so many of the details, and so like we didn't get a lot of the things here that we know happened. Like theoretically know what happened because we don't know if the book the book is canon anymore. Is that she gets her white lightsaber blades from that Inquisitor.
Mm-hmm.
She fixes the bleeding that gives you the red lightsabers. We didn't see that at all. We didn't actually see her join up with Bail at all. We assume that is what happened, but we did not see it.
But she just puts the brother, sister, and father, or just another guy in the village that survived.
The brother who clearly didn't cause the murder of everybody in that village.
He gets away with it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so she puts them on the ship with Bail, but the understanding is that she's going to keep in touch now. But there is that, like, the bones of a ship in the background where there was like a big hole in the wing. But I don't know if that's like what she's going to use to get off planet, or if she has another plan, or if she needs to go liberate another village, but she's now taking responsibility for her role in the up and coming rebellion.
Yeah.
But she didn't. So the other thing is, because with the lightsaber thing, she doesn't have her lightsabers. Obviously, she just dodges a couple swipes and grabs his.
It was the most anticlimactic battle.
Yeah, right.
But it was kind of fitting. It was very akin to the end of Darth Maul. One of those like I don't even need to try to beat you sort of things. And when she deflated Humpty Dumpty, it was just it left me like, oh, yeah, I guess that's she's
yeah. I mean, and again, like it's just and I don't. They've never really gone into it, but every time you see an Inquisitor taken down, it's kind of like it is like a deflating balloon. She's like, oh, that's it. I mean, most pathetic of all is in Rebels when the one tries to fly away and his lightsaber just bursts on him and he falls to his death. That was
probably the funniest one.
Yeah.
He's like, I can't win this battle. My helicopter is not working.
Yeah, and he died on his way home to his home planet. There is something about like the dispatching of Inquisitors where, and I've seen it justified online, where like, well, no, Vader wants them to be just intimidating enough to get information, but not powerful enough to be able to usurp him.
Oh, but none of them are even close to usurping him. Like, it's not even like it's like a joke.
They just look cool, but then they don't really have anything behind it.
Well, they can take out normal people.
Yeah.
They can intimidate normal people, but anybody who's actually been trained as a Jedi, like Padawans, they could take out Padawans. But anybody who's actually like completed Jedi training, most of these Inquisitors wouldn't even hold a candle to. Woof.
Of course, it was right as I unmuted to start talking to you again that she decided to bark.
Yeah, that's it. That's how it works.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm all good.
I think the telling of like her taking out this Inquisitor as a obviously well-trained Jedi, she could do it without a lightsaber. And I know you guys haven't talked about it, maybe played Jedi Fallen Order, but like that story is how a Padawan is kind of re-engaging with the Force, and he fights Inquisitors along the way, and they get kind of easier to beat as you go along, get more abilities. But it is kind of it's what you're talking about, like head to head with a Jedi, no question.
Yeah, I played about an hour of Jedi Fallen Order, and that's all I had time for. And now my Xbox is packed away because we don't have our game room with walls yet, or ceiling, or
that's
TV.
Important.
So
great game. Very excited for the sequel.
It's on the list to play. All
Well, I
right.
think we've done it, right?
Finished?
I think we've successfully dissected the tales of the Jedi as we know them today.
We have talked longer than the tales have played, so we're good now.
Didn't we know that was going to happen, though? It's
Of
amazing.
course.
We can cover in an hour 20 an entire season of Rebels, or
Not well though.
three. Well,
Still-
no, but we got the bones of it. But 3 12-minute episodes of Star Wars takes the same amount of time.
Yeah. All right. And with that, you can contact us through email, talkintauntauns@aiptcomics.com. You can find us on Twitter @Talkin Tauntauns. You can join our Patreon through AIPT Comics and join us on Discord. You can leave us a review. You can share us with a friend. You can leave us a good review too, as well as sharing us with a friend and sharing us with a pet and anybody else who has a phone. Do your pets have phones? They want to listen to us too.
No, but mine gets to sit here and listen to me and doesn't hear the other side of this conversation.
That's weird. I hate listening to one side of conversations. Like whenever anybody's on the phone, you only hear one side of the conversation, like at a restaurant. Like, can you turn on speakerphone? It's just really weird.
If
Just
I'm
getting
going to
one
eavesdrop,
side.
I want all the context.
All right. And with that, we are going to be out for next week because of Nicole's Life Day celebration. And so we will see you probably just after Thanksgiving to talk the remaining episodes of Andor, which are bound to be endless fun. And with that, we'll see you then.